This is the reason why I think there's a problem, because the word alopecia simply just means hair loss. It's not what Jada Pinkett Smith suffers from. She suffers from a specific type of alopecia. So when someone says alopecia, it just means hair loss. And that's the mistake. I've looked through all the media and they're not saying it right. It's alopecia areata most likely. And alopecia areata is an autoimmune disorder. And that's probably what she suffers from what I can gather. So right now, there's no clear understanding of how people get alopecia areata. Alopecia areata is a condition that's more common in children, prepubescent, but it can occur in adult. And basically, it shows up as little spots of circles of hair loss. Those can become confluent and bigger. And there's also conditions known as universalis and totalis, where you can get totalis, losing all the hair in the scalp, and then universalis, where you won't lose it from the eyebrows and all your body hair. Now, she doesn't seem to have that condition because she had to shave her head, which clearly, if you had totalis, you would not have any hair on your head to begin with. Alopecia areata, they're usually, as the word areata means, it's like a circle. They're little patches of hair loss that are smooth. And if you look under a microscope, it has what's called exclamation hair points. It's a very clinical, clear sign that's there. And it's usually treatable in mild conditions with steroid injections to reverse it. Usually a dermatologist handles it. I'm a hair transplant surgeon, so I actually don't manage alopecia areata directly. I just refer that to a dermatologist. Usually they're self-limiting. In other words, this condition usually resolves itself, but new lesions can occur throughout one's lifetime. And we don't know what causes it. The thought process is that it's autoimmune. Autoimmune simply is a medical term to mean auto by itself, immune regulation, which means your body is attacking itself. Other types of autoimmune conditions are like lupus, you may have heard of. Those conditions, your body is attacking its own hair follicles. That's exactly right. And it's attacking it in a very specific pattern of circles, which is a very odd thing, but that's the way the disease manifests. And it is devastating. So I totally understand. I'm not justifying what Will Smith did, obviously, but I understand I'm a huge proponent of educating people about alopecia in general, but clearly in this condition, alopecia areata, it can be very devastating. I have a very good friend's daughter who's very young and she's lost huge patches on her head, and it can be socially ostracizing as well. Probably the most common is what's called androgenetic alopecia. Androgenetic just means male pattern baldness. So we see that a lot of men have hair loss. And also androgenetic alopecia can be used to describe female pattern hair loss, especially when it's driven by a preponderance of male hormones after menopause. So women that are having more testosterone basis. That's probably the most common types of hair loss. Another type is called traction alopecia. Very common in African-American females that braid their hair and they pull their hair too tight. So it kills the oxygen to the area of the scalp. And then you need to do a transplant for that area. There's even lupus, as I was mentioning, is a different type of hair loss. It is also autoimmune, but it's very different. It's called a scarring hair loss, which is much worse because it's also known as a trichologic emergency, fancy word to describe hair emergency. Because when you're dealing with lupus or other types of scarring hair losses, like, I hate this is a mouthful, central centrifugal cicatricial alopecia or CCCA, those don't stop. They just continue to destroy your hair and it's gone. You can't get it back. Whereas with alopecia areata, usually they're self-limiting. They come back. You can inject steroids and bring it back. So that's a non-scarring type of hair loss. It usually just burns itself out. So it's not like a dermatologist went in there, injected it, and it's cured. It usually is what we like to term self-limiting. In other words, at some point, it just doesn't occur anymore. So as I said, it oftentimes occurs in younger individuals. And as they grow up, all of a sudden your body just doesn't do it anymore. In some cases, it just continues for your lifetime. It really depends on the severity of the disease process. If there's only a couple patches and you wear your hair long, you could comb it over it and be okay. Other conditions, you can use hair fibers that you can place into the scalp. It's like a camouflage to make it better. Of course, partial wigs, full wigs, scarves. It all depends on the severity of the disease process. And obviously, I don't know, I did not see any photos of her with her disease active and her hair longer, but clearly it was so bad that she needed to shave her head. My biggest thing that I did a podcast on this actually today, and the reason is that people are misusing the term alopecia. It's a term that I think a lot of people use the word alopecia when they describe alopecia areata, but it's just a term that I think needs to be clarified. And of course, as you see in the situation, is an incredibly emotionally sensitive issue. And just like calling someone overweight or calling someone even racial comments. It's a very bad thing to make fun of someone. I think Chris Rock was not intending this to be bad, because clearly he just thought, okay, she's losing some hair. But it obviously is an incredibly socially sensitive matter. And I think all of us should just be more socially sensitive to one another, no matter what condition we're suffering from. If you just say the word alopecia, it's a meaningless term. It's the exact same word as hair loss. So if I said to you, hey, you're suffering from hair loss, well, what kind of hair loss? I just named 7 types. There's many more than that. I think I didn't even know what they meant when they said she's suffering from alopecia. Is she suffering from just male pattern baldness? Is there, totally different treatment, totally different type of condition issues, totally different degree of loss. I think it's just important that when the media out there uses the word alopecia, they have to understand that word has no meaning to it except for the word hair loss. By using a medical term, it's like saying eructation, which means burping. Okay, I used the word eructation. I sound really sophisticated, but I just meant burping. But if I define a condition like alopecia areata, okay, well, then I know exactly what the disease process is. I know how to manage it. I just think the media should be more informed in the use of terms, because it sounds highbrow to say, oh, she has alopecia, and actually is quite the opposite. It means nothing. I mean, do you understand what I'm saying? You need to describe what condition she has. It just doesn't describe the condition. You might as well just say she has hair loss. To me, that's more accurate. Then you go, okay, well, you're not defining it then.